In this lesson, we're going to talk about the distributive property. If you think about what the word distribute means, it means, let's say that a teacher is passing out papers to a class, and another word for that is distributing paper to the class. So it's when the teacher gives each and every student a piece of paper. So this property, the distributive property, works just the same. Let's look at the first example here. It says 3 times the quantity of x plus 8. So the number that is going to be distributed is the number that is outside of the parentheses. So in our case, it's going to be the 3. The numbers that we're going to distribute the 3 into are going to be the numbers that are inside the parentheses. So I'm going to show you this little technique that you don't have to do, but it's kind of shows you how to do this. I'm going to take that 3. And I'm going to multiply it by the x. When I multiply 3 times x, I'm going to get 3x. But then I have to go back because that 3 I also have to distribute into the positive 8. Now, I said positive 8 because you also have to grab that operation that's in front of the 8. So 3 times positive 8 is going to be positive 24. And that's it. You've just distributed. So this right here is going to be your final answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. Negative 2 times the quantity of 3x plus 1. Now the only thing that changed here is that the number that's outside is negative. So I'm going to treat it as negative, and I'm going to do exactly what I did in example 1. Negative 2 times my first term. Negative 2 times 3x is going to give me negative 6x. I'm also going to distribute that negative 2 into my positive 1. So negative 2 times positive 1 is going to give me negative 2. And I'm done. Okay, the next one, I threw this in here because it's a little tricky. Right now, I just have a negative outside. But remember, like in the other examples in the other videos, there's always this invisible negative 1. And so you have to treat it as a negative 1. So once I know it's negative 1, I can go ahead and distribute. Negative 1 times 3x is going to give me negative 3x. Negative 1 times, this is tricky now, negative y, right? Negative times the negative is going to give me a positive y. And I'm done. Let's look at some more. 4 is going to be distributed into the quantity of negative x minus 2y. So let's go ahead and do that. 4 times negative x. That's going to give me negative 4x. 4 times, careful here, make sure to grab that operation, negative 2y is going to give me negative 8y. And I'm done. Okay, this time I bumped it up a little bit. Now, the 7 is being distributed into 3 terms. So let's go ahead and do that. 7 times 5x is going to give me 35x. 7 times 3y is going to give me 21y. And 7 times negative 4, that's going to give me negative 28. And I'm done. And the last one, I made this one kind of challenging with all the minuses and negatives. So again, I have that negative out front. This is a negative 1. He's invisible. Go ahead and write him in there if you'd like. Negative 1 times negative x. That's going to give me positive x. Negative 1 times positive y. That's going to give me negative y. Negative 1 times negative 4. That's going to give me positive 4. And I'm done. Okay, now for some harder ones. They look more challenging just because there's all these fractions and it's kind of ugly, but it's really not that bad because if we know how to multiply fractions, it makes it nice and easy and everything's going to turn into an integer. So if you kind of look at this first one here, I have negative 18 times 1/3. I'm just going to write that over here on the side. I'm going to say negative 18 times 1/3. Remember what we talked about. Take that negative 18 and multiply it by the numerator. So really it's going to give me negative 18 divided by 3. So that's nice and easy, right? Yeah, that's going to be negative 6. So when I distribute that negative 18 into this fraction, it's really not bad. It's just going to be negative 6x. Same thing. I'm going to write it down here. Negative 18. I'm going to multiply it by positive 1/9. It's going to look like this, right? Multiply the tops together to give you negative 18 over 9. Yeah, well, negative 18 over 9 is just going to be negative 2. So I'm going to say minus 2. That's it. Let's see if we can do the same technique to the next one. This one's a little bit bigger. I have my negative 5, and I'm multiplying it by negative 2/5 y. So remember what we talked about with this negative. I'm going to bump him up to apply to the 2. So I'm going to say negative 5 times negative 2. Well, negative 5 times negative 2 is going to be 10, right? So really I have 10 over 5y. Well, that's easy. 2y. So my first piece is going to be 2y. Now, I'm going to start here with negative 4. All right. Well, let's take that negative 4 and multiply it by the 6. So that's going to give me negative 24, right? And I'm going to divide that by 8. Well, that's easy. Isn't that negative 3? Yeah. So I have negative 3x. So I just distributed the negative 4 into this piece here. Now I'm going to distribute that whole negative 4 into the next piece. Lots of negatives, so be very careful. Negative 4 times negative 3/4. Well, first of all, we know it's going to be a positive number, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. So really, we can just get rid of those negatives. So 4 times 3 is going to give us 12 over 4 with an m. Well, that's easy. 12 over 4, that's 3. So plus 3m. That's it. We're done. So when you see fractions, don't get scared. Just take it piece by piece, and feel free to use your graphing calculator to help you. Okay, I'm going to teach you another skill, and then we're going to combine the two skills together. This is called combining like terms. Sometimes I like to call it CLT, just to, condense it a little bit. So like terms have the same variables and the same exponents. For example, in this first example, 11x plus 4x, notice how I have 11 and 4, and then I have two x's. Notice how those x's are identical. Sometimes I like to say they have the same last name. So when two terms have the same last name, you can combine them. So 11x and 4x can be combined. If I combine them, that's just going to give me 15x. And I'm done. I've combined like terms because these two terms are like. Okay, let's look at the next example on the right. X plus 2x plus 3x plus 4x. Well, I have an x, an x, an x, and an x. They're all like terms. So I can combine them. I'm going to say, remember, there is a imaginary coefficient in front of that x. So really I have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all of the same variables. That's going to give me 10x. Okay, now I'm going to change the variables up on you a little bit. All right, in this next example, notice that I have 6x and 2x, right? I'm just going to do this momentarily. I'm going to say 6x, and I'm going to say plus 2x. I'm going to put those pieces together, okay? But before I do that, I am going to choose a different color here, and I'm going to show you another way that you can approach this. So I know that those terms are the same, but then I have this negative 5y. Y has a different last name than x, right? But then I also have this 4 kind of lingering off to the side. Negative 4 is also doesn't have the same name as the x or the y. So you can see that these terms here are all very different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine them. I'm going to combine everything in green. 6x plus 2x. That's going to give me 8x. And then I'm going to go ahead and write down the other ones. If there's anything else I can combine, I can do that now. But in our case, there isn't. So I'm going to write everything down the way it is. And I'm done. You've combined like terms. Okay, the next one I have some exponents in here. So let's go ahead and try this one. I'm going to use some different colors here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put a little box around my x. X, I have a 3x. They have the same last name. And then I'm going to go over here and grab my orange. And I have x squared, right? X squared, they have the same last name. And then I'll choose one more color. And I have a +1. Okay, so you don't have to use this color coding system, but it might be helpful to you at first. Let's go ahead and combine the x's. I have x plus 3x. Okay, well that's going to give me 4x. Let's look at my orange. Negative x squared minus 4x squared. Well, that's going to give me negative 5x squared. And then +1, well, they have nothing to combine it with, so I'm just going to write +1. And I'm done. Okay, now that we've combined like terms, let's go ahead and distribute and combine like terms. So, let's look at the first one. Let's see what we have here. The number that is being distributed. This one is a very easy one to make any misconception about, because the number that is being distributed is going to be -3. It's not going to be 3, it's going to be -3. So, let's look at this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write 9w. Because I'm not doing anything with the 9w. I'm not distributing it. He's just hanging out. And then I'm going to take my -3 and I'm going to distribute him into 2w to give me -6w. I'm going to distribute -3 into +4 to give me -12. Now that I have this, I've distributed. But now I'm going to combine all the terms that are alike. Just like before, notice that I have 9w and I have -6w. Same last name, so I can combine them to give me 3w. And then this guy over here, he's just kind of hanging out, so I'm going to write -12. And that is your final answer after you've distributed and combined like terms. Okay. All right, now we've got a doozy here. I'm going to change my color. I'm going to change it to pink. All right. This time we have 2 different pieces that need to be distributed. So let's work with the first one. First, I'm going to distribute my 8 into my x and my -5. So 8 times x is going to give me 8x. 8 into -5, right, is -40. Now, I have this new problem, and I know that it's kind of a new problem because the -4 is being multiplied with these parentheses. He's being multiplied, so I know that he's going to be distributed because of that operation. So -4 times y is going to give me -4y. And then -4 times my 10 is going to give me -40. And then I have this guy just hanging out on the side. I'm just going to go ahead and bring him down. And so now I'm done with my distributing. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do some combining. So let's look at my x's. First I have 8x and I have -2x. I think that's all the x's I have. So let's go ahead and combine them. 8x minus 2x is going to give me a 6x. All right, let's go ahead and look at my y's. Oh, look, I have a y right here. You know, I'm going to use a different color. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and use blue. Because he's a different term, right? Yeah. So, different term. He's going to be -4y. He's all by himself. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab a green. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to circle this time. -40 and -40. This number right here, they are alike because they're constants. They're numbers that don't have any variables attached. So those numbers that you can also combine together because they technically have the same last name. That's going to give me -80. And I have distributed and I have combined like terms. I can't simplify any further. And I am done. All right, let's do one more problem here and let's simplify the expression. So I'm going to teach you this one skill that is going to be really important in Unit 4. So hopefully by Unit 4 you think back and say, oh yeah, I remember when we did that. Okay, let's look at this. 5x plus 6 plus, now I have this big fraction here. I want to teach you how to simplify a fraction like this. So for right now, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rewrite 5x plus 6. And I'm going to work on this fraction. Anytime you're given something that looks like this, where you have a number in the denominator, you're going to do this little thing. Some people call it the heart. Some people call it the butterfly. It's whatever you really want it to be. But basically what it is this. I'm going to take this 14x and divide it by 7. So essentially I'm just kind of breaking it into a piece like this. And when I do that, I'm going to get an answer of 2x. So that piece right there, that 14x divided by 7, that's just going to be 2x. Just like this. And then my negative 21 divided by 7, well, that's just going to be negative 3. That's it. I'm going to write negative 3. That's how you simplify something like that. And then, of course, we need to combine like terms. So if you see here, we have 5x and we have 2x. So that's going to give me 7x. And then I'll do a little cloud around my constants. Positive 6 minus 3, that's going to give me plus 3. So that whole big problem there is just going to be 7x plus 3. And that's the end of distributing and combining like terms.